Hi friends, now today's video is going to be very powerful. It's all about employee and how employer can do better in order to contribute into the life of employee. Those who know me very well, it is okay. And for the people who don't know, my name is Rakesh Raj. I am IT career and leadership coach. Now, today's video is going to be very powerful. If you have seen the thumbnail, that will revolve around anybody and everybody who is employed and how they can keep themselves better in their life and what employers can contribute in order to ensure that employee well-being becomes their number one priority, or they can actually be an employee oriented company which will give the feeling of more satisfaction to anybody who joins the firm. Now, without wasting any more time, in case if you do not have a pen and paper, I give you quick 10 seconds. Please go get a piece of paper, and people who are with me on the chat, please type your messages for this particular topic in the chat, and I'll try to answer that also during this due course of time. Now, please take the 10 second, get a pen and paper, and we'll start. So, employee well being is talking about the holistic health and satisfaction of an employee. Now, it can revolve in emotional area, physical area, their money oriented area, and any other area wherever they need some support. Now, there are many organizations which are already taking a lot of steps in this area. If you notice, many companies have a lot of even fun games to ensure that employee remains happy at the workplace. We used to have something called as Fun Friday, wherein like every day towards the end of the Friday, we used to play some games among ourselves, and then it used to be followed by a small party so that people can always be in a position to take a break from work for the weekend with that joy in the mind. Now, even there are some companies which get frequent yoga session, which get some health coaches in order to help employ, maybe with respect to their diet, maybe with respect to their uh, you can say exercising capability, maybe with respect to what they can do in order to focus better at the workplace. These are some of the areas where employers are already contributing, and there is a reason behind it. We will get into the detailing of it. And if you are an employer, please stay connected. In case if you are not doing any of this activity, then please feel free to start doing at least some of this activity and see the raise in the motivation level of your employees. But if you are doing something other than what I am telling here, please feel free to put it in the chat so that going forward, I can even start adding that as a part of my messaging to the people who are listening to me. Now, please remember, the employee well-being is around physical, mental, emotional, and economic aspect. It is also helping the person to grow in their career and develop the sense of purpose and engagement. Now, any employee who is not engaged at workplace, do you really think they can contribute well at the workplace? You're absolutely right. Their contribution will be only bare minimum, wherein they are very much sure that they will get that nominal hike which they are expecting, or probably they will not be thrown out of the workplace in order to contribute that. So, ensuring that engagement of the employee happens is also something important. Many of the companies also have some of the things like they ask them to get involved into some creative work, maybe doing some painting together, or particular during the festival season, they might be doing some cartooning, some kind of rangolis, so that people can share those moment of joys. There are a lot of cultural event which companies create, wherein like they try to connect with their culture, and even they encourage people to bring their family member so that people feel the feeling of more association, and even family member can feel included within that particular sphere, so that employee will get that moral satisfaction and mental satisfaction even at his home. Now, there are many companies which even organizes employee potluck, or probably ensuring that all the team member get something together and have their lunch together, which will make sure that everybody takes a bite in some of the other ways from every tiffin which has come. What a level of joy and satisfaction it brings to most of the people, and people start knowing and talking to each other, which also helps to serve as an icebreaker. A lonely employee is always going to contribute less compared to an employee who is engaged with the other employees at the workplace. So, making or taking any step in the direction of ensuring that people are able to connect better at the workplace is also contributing to the employee well-being. Now, it definitely improves the team focus, reduces the stress, people feel less burdened, people feel more connected, because when they talk to each other only about work, the core focus is to get the things done. But when they meet each other after the work or during all such event, they get to know about each other a little more. So now when they are talking to each other, they would be more empathetic to each other. Whereas in the other cases, it used to be, if you do not do my work, I will probably escalate. So that kind of environment create a sort of friction within different employees, and we need to always ensure that people should be more empathetic towards each other, which will make them feel better about themselves, as well as the other individual who is at the receiving end will always be grateful for what they see at the workplace, and will always love to come back to the workplace every Monday morning. Whereas if the people are very demotivated, every Monday morning people will crib about coming to office, which is not a very right thing for any company to be into. Now, please understand, we need to always make sure that the job satisfaction should be higher, and a motivation or positivity stays within the culture of the environment, which will ensure that people will be in a position to feel that they are included, and also they are respected for what they are, rather than only considering them as a resource for getting things done. Yes, absolutely. Each individual is a resource by some of the other means, but beyond that, they all are human, and anything and everything which can touch, move, or inspire a human being is equally going to be of help, even in case of employees. Now, the moment we start encouraging people to take participation in all such activity, they will feel more motivated in order to show up to the workplace, which in turn gives a byproduct to the employer, wherein they will have less absenteeism. People will be in a position to contribute well, even if in some due course of time when there is some amount of absenteeism that happens to be there, they will coordinate or collaborate better with the other team member in order to ensure that the impact is less at the workplace. Now, before I move to the next part of the session, people who are with me in the chat, I give you 10 to 15 seconds of time. Please feel free to post anything that you feel is unclear till this stage, so that I can freely move towards the next part of it. Now, we always need to ensure that performance is not something which we can directly control only by showing appraisal, but even these small things which we are doing in order to bring engagement, in order to bring energy within the employee, will always ensure that their performance will be high at the workplace, which will in turn benefit the organization bit better compared to the other organization which doesn't have all this activity. Now, it helps you to reduce the stigma around mental health issue which affect one employee and creates an open culture where employees can seek support from each other. Many of the employers are also creating these days a call to doctor facility for all their employees. I have seen particularly during the COVID time, many companies have given a number or an app to their employees wherein like if they feel that they are going to get symptoms of cold, they can probably chat with the doctor, have some conversation with the doctor, because when physical touch was not happening, any mode of help wherein like they can get the things at a digital level, and that was not only included for them but also for their family members. What has happened is people felt the value of the organization and what they have done to their family member as well as to their lives during the tough time of COVID. Now, if you see and look at the period of COVID, particularly the first 6 months, even though people used to be unwell at home or there used to be some way by which people were not able to be fully attentive to work because some of their other family members were unwell. But still, what has happened is, from a productivity perspective, from a contributing perspective, from engagement perspective of an employee, we were able to get best out of employees during such tough time. People understood the value of flexibility and they were able to drive it along with taking care of their own family member, and at the same time ensuring that they are able to be present for something which needs their attention even at the workplace, that used to make sure that the ball keeps rolling and things will not get stopped if there is a heavy dependency on any individual. Imagine the value of such good thing which has happened during the life of any employee, and it has given them a chance to become a better person in spite of being at workplace and contribute more from their home with their loved ones. What is the amount of joy that they used to get when they used to be at the workplace? I don't say that during this flexibility there was no disruption at all. Yes, people used to face some connectivity issue. People used to have their own reasons of not being available. There used to some people who used to take an advantage even of that situation. But if we have ensured that flexibility is taken into consideration, it has benefited a large chunk of employee and has contributed to the maximum productivity of the company. Yes, there could be some handful people who might have not used the benefit during this particular phase and at the same time might have caused trouble. That has caused at times even employers to rethink onto some of the decision which they have taken in the past, which means nowadays if you notice the complete work from home culture is moving towards rotational work from home, which has kind of ensured that employee keeps coming to the workplace and at the same time get the flexibility of being at home. Now, at any given point in time, any employee will be in a position to even like that particular thing, because if there is anything for which they want to be at home and at the same time be operational for their work, they are able to do so. So by contributing this kind of shift in the policy from a 5 days week wherein employee was supposed to come to office to a policy of rotational work week has always ensured that employer morale has gone down. They feel more valued, they feel more trusted, and at the same time it has also given advantages to employer because they can be in a position to manage with less office space and can ensure that more number of people are accommodated within the same space, because they are calling people even at a rotational level, or probably in some companies they do not have a proper desk for an individual, wherein like they would be sitting at the fixed place all the time, but they have to block their seats before they go to the office. And in this way, even the infrastructure team is kept on um, giving, or kept on being in a line with how many people are expected to show up at the workplace on any given day. And people who are booking their seats within the office premises can also see how many available seats are there, so that they can plan their going to office, or in many cases even team decide to come together so that they can even have a good amount of interaction, team lunches with their team member, and be more engaged. Now, imagine the benefit of all such thing, and imagine the amount of value an employee feels when they are able to manage something in this manner. They would always be willing to love for a company like this, even though they might be getting a better offer at a different company, but they will still be part of those companies, which gives them other benefit apart from asking them to only work and get a paycheck. People are feeling more connected and want to contribute, going all out in order to make sure that they are able to deliver in the same proportion in which they are getting the benefit. Now, coming to the next set of things, we always see that if employee well-being is kept at the center, and if employee is also equally taken care the way most companies take care of their customer, then the amount of satisfaction which your customer will get would be of totally high quality. And any penny which an employer is investing for the well-being of an employee comes to them at least 4 times, or gets multiplied at least 4 times, and show up in the revenue in some or the other manner. So any engagement which is done for the welfare of employee will always have a rewarding benefit even for the employer. Now I'll take a pause at that stage, and anybody who has any question can put it in the chat. Now, furthermore, many companies have even taken health care of employees' mental disbalance by taking help of appropriate counselor, wherein like an employee can book a slot with a counselor, talk to them, and can be bit free from the thoughts which are cluttering his mind and probably causing some issues at workplace. Now, by giving any benefit to the employee, it comes in a return format. Many employers are also giving gym benefit, medical insurance, and any other kind of premium benefit which can help the employees. Now, there are some of the employers which also allow them to take some amount of loan within that capacity, wherein like a partial loan amount will be settled from the salary of the employee, and employer is taking guarantee of that particular loan, so that an employee can also enjoy the benefit of life a little earlier than he becomes capable of, by getting this support from the employer. Now, there are tremendous ways by which an employee can be engaged. The best way to know what works for your employees is to always seek feedback, to understand from them what they value most at this particular point in time, and a collective understanding of it will help you to drive the workforce towards better direction. On the other side, if employees are completely ignored and they feel lack of motivation to be at workplace, and if they are only coming at workplace for the paycheck, then slowly or gradually these employees will leave that particular organization, or will be of lower value to the same organization where they used to have higher value at an earlier point in time. On the other side, their paycheck continues to grow. That is where you will notice many of the employees become underfit for the same role which they have been performing from 5, 10 years within the organization, or probably they have seen the ladder. But what has happened is, in the due course of time, they have probably stopped learning, or there was no proper direction for them, and they have continued to only do what they were doing, which has made them less valuable, and the more contribution of them has been felt at the earlier stage of their career. That's when you also see some of the employers are laying off people. But what has happened is, there has no major motivation from these employers to take that workforce and make them moving in the higher direction, by giving them a sense of purpose, by helping them to grow as per the growth strategy which is needed. And that can also come into picture by mapping their learning goals in the direction of the current trend. So for example, if a person seems to be less contributing just because of a competency issue, employer well-being also helps to ensure that the same competency can be filled, and the person who is the supervisor of that individual should help them to grow in that particular competency by making a learning path, or by nominating them into some of the training program, or probably by helping them to go and get some certification from an external sources which can make them more competent for that particular area. Because with the trends changing on regular basis, anybody and everybody who has to remain aligned with technology will always need that greater sense of purpose from the organization, wherein their learning can be valued and they can be systematically grow as per the kind of trend which the organization is heading toward. So the bigger vision will get diluted to the missions of different team, which in turn will become goals for the respective team lead or the department, and that in turn will become goals of that individual. And if an individual is taking care of his or her goal, they are in turn supporting their department with their larger goal, and in the other side they are supporting the mission for which they were assigned to do the work, and finally they are contributing to the larger vision for which they have been taken into the workforce. So you understand the kind of synergy it generates the moment you start taking employee well-being as the center point of what you want to deliver, and then use these people in order to make sure you get exponential result at the workplace. There are many entrepreneur or employer who has the saying, if I take care of my employees, they will take care of the work which has to be completed. So if a good employer is able to take care of their employees, then you will not see people leaving the company, which in turn reduces the attrition. So far, we have seen that there are many ways by which this employee well-being can be taken into consideration, and it should be the topmost priority for all the employer. Because on any given day, if employees are ignored for a very longer time by any organization, then these employees will start to move towards something better where they can be feel more value. Before I end the session in next few minutes, I would take a pause for another 10-15 seconds for the people who are with me on the chat so that I can conclude this while answering their question. Thank you so much. So, moving to the next part of the session, with this particular video, I have tried to give a strategical way of how employee well-being can be done. Now, it doesn't have to be something which comes with a very high investment, but the willingness to do this can always ensure that the contribution would be felt by the employer at any stage, and the employee will start valuing the organization at every stage. So I would strongly urge to all the organization that they should start taking at least some steps on quarterly basis in order to drive more and more employee well-being, which in turn will get them more output at the workplace. Thank you for listening.